A perfect start to Minecraft. The perfect start to Minecraft Hardcore. My perfect start in Minecraft. The perfect start in Minecraft. The perfect start to Minecraft. The perfect start to 1.21. The perfect start in Minecraft. My perfect start to Minecraft. The perfect. There are countless videos with this exact same title, and something tells me they aren't actually perfect. I'm going to make the real perfect start to a hardcore world, starting with analyzing some of the most viewed videos in this category. Sandiction focused most of his video on building his castle and village. I will not be focusing on building because I am not good at building, but I will probably build some sort of house. Sandiction also included a list of progression goals, so I can take those into account as my minimum. Gemini Tay's episode is far from my definition of the best start. It's supposed to be episode 1 of a series, so the progression is slow. In fact, most of the videos with this title are like that. The title isn't describing the video, it's just for clicks. But I'm not really here to talk about that, I just want to make the perfect hardcore world. Now onto A Cookie God.
Brand new 1.17 Caves and Cliffs update.
Cookie God gets so close to doing some real progression, and then he gets distracted by the new update. Further proving that none of these YouTubers are serious about making the perfect start. How dare they use hyperbole in a title? So far the stakes have been pretty low. The most stacked start was some diamond armor and totems, but the next two are a little different. That being said, Trey Ovard spends most of his video focusing on his colorful circle thumbnail base. But before he starts, he gets stacked with diamond gear, elytra, and I have to imagine he made an XP farm at some point because the elytra that he has never runs out of durability. The 7th video is the closest to what I would consider the perfect start. Eric Kirby's video has 5 sections, each devoted to collecting a hardcore necessity. My hardcore run will be kind of like that, just better. Here are my goals for the hardcore world. Obviously, I need some sort of build with a big circle so I can put it in the thumbnail. Most of these videos also have a house or starter base. Of course, I have to get elytra, totems, and maxed out gear. I also need a villager breeder, an iron farm, a gold farm, a gunpowder farm, and an XP farm. But the XP farm is kind of redundant because the gold farm and gunpowder farm I have in mind will also give me a bunch of XP. I know this doesn't sound like the start of a hardcore world, but a couple of the longer videos had 30 or 70 hours of playtime, so I'm going to try to do this all in under 6 hours. Now I totally could walk you through this entire run, but I'm actually going to fast forward a little bit. Past where I used TNT to mine iron because I didn't feel like making a pickaxe, past the village, past where I almost died, past where I found diamonds, past the nether where I almost died again. Well, it is negative 160, 60. That was grapple. The bastion, the fortress, the end. Kind of automatically a good ship. Nice pearl, by the way, but I don't care. You know why? Because this took me 6.72 hours, and I completed 4 out of the 10 things on my list. I've been criticized in the past for not doing enough preparation, and I can't let that happen again. I'm going to start over. My new plan is to separate the goals into 5 hour-long segments, leaving 1 hour for any extra time I need. Almost all of the first hour will be dedicated to getting elytra. The second hour is set up for villager trading that will happen in the 3rd hour. In the 4th hour, I will build my gold farm and mob farm. In the 5th and final hour, I will finish maxing out my gear, farm totems, and build my base. The first hour is essentially a speed run, but here's everything I need to do in detail. Gather a little bit of iron so I can burn animals with flint and steel for faster food, gather more iron for tools and maybe armor, locate a lava pool for my nether entry, locate a bastion and fortress for ender pearls and blaze rods, locate the stronghold, kill the ender dragon, find an elytra and collect shulker shells, and finally I will return to the overworld and find a village. I will also need the following items for various things in the run. I don't have to get those in the first hour, but it's better if I do. When I start a world, I'm mostly looking for 3 things: villages, shipwrecks, and desert temples. Desert temples are significantly more rare than the other 2, but they're my favorite structure in the game, so I'm always looking for them. Technically though, I don't need any structure. Any plains biome can still keep me on pace if I get a good cave. To be honest, the playability of a seed is more about my mood than anything else. Out of personal preference, I will never run a snow biome or any biome with vines. Snow biomes have very little food, so they can be annoying to deal with, and swamps and jungles are miserable biomes with nothing good to ever come out of them. Except jungle temples, which are kinda cool, but I wouldn't know because I never stay in a jungle long enough to find one. Before you argue that jungles and swamps can be good biomes, you have to realize that even Mojang recognizes how terrible they are. The experimental villager rebalance puts the 2 best enchants in those biomes. This first run I spawned in a village, which is nice because I get a lot of easy food, but you usually don't get very much iron from a village. I did find a shipwreck just offshore though, so I was still able to get all the iron I would need. To find the buried treasure, I approximated the location of the X, and then I went to 9-9 in the chunk. If you don't know, that's always where the buried treasure is going to be. I went back to the village for food, and then since I didn't see a lava pool, I dug straight down, hoping for a cave. I know digging straight down isn't a very smart idea, but I have 3 things I trust to keep me safe. First, I dug down in an ocean, which means it's likely that any caves below me will be filled with water. Secondly, I have this number next to the letter C. That number tracks how many chunk sections are loaded in the direction I'm facing. Essentially, the higher that number is, the more likely I am to drop into a cave. Thirdly, I also have a water bucket, so if I'm dropped into a cave or into lava, I should be able to get myself out. Of course, the next phase of the run is in the Nether. I didn't have a great spawn, but I did see some open terrain at the top of a ravine, which eventually led to finding a bastion. I actually used another F3 trick to find the bastion, but I'll explain that one later. I made it up to the top of the bastion, made a gold helmet, and then this happened. I'm pretty sure that only happened because this block was missing, and the brute thought it could jump up a block and hit me, which I guess it could. A few seeds later, I spawned in a desert, so I grabbed some logs and looked for a temple. A minute of searching, and I found one. Yippee, a desert temple! I went to confirm my suspicion, and of course, a random mob tripped the pressure plate. In this run, I was using the pie chart to scan for structures. This pink area means there is a chest somewhere in my render distance. I could have changed my render distance to narrow down the location of the chest, but this time it wasn't necessary. I think instead of trying to explain my thought process, I'm just going to play out this clip and let you make fun of me. I had another pretty good run here that ended because I didn't hear the wither skeleton behind me. In my defense, there was no way I could have known the wither skeleton was there. This run was pretty nice. I spawned near a village, it even had a blast furnace, so I had all my iron super fast. All was going well until the bastion. Did you catch it? Because I certainly didn't. I thought I killed all the brutes, but I missed one. It was only on screen for 6 frames, but it killed me. You're probably tired of watching me die, but just in case you aren't, here's a montage of the rest of the deaths. So far, you have seen a summary of 160 runs spanning about 14 hours. In 20 of those runs, I got to the Nether before resetting. And only 4 of those runs, 2.5% of the original 160, had a chance of being the one. I'm going to recap all 4 of those runs at once, so choose which one you think is going to be the one that pushes forward to the second hour. The top left run spawned next to a double blacksmith village, while all 3 other runs spawned near an ocean with shipwrecks in sight. All the runs got a decent amount of iron, but the second blacksmith granted 3 diamonds that turned into a pickaxe. A diamond pickaxe can save a lot of time later in the run if I don't get enough obsidian from the bastion. The top left and bottom right runs both got ruined portals, but neither had very good loot. In the top left run, I already had everything I needed though, so I just went to the Nether. In the Nether, I used a strategy called E-Ray to find a nearby bastion. I lowered my FOV to 30 and looked around until this number spiked above 30. It works because piglins in a bastion spawn all at once when a player loads it. I actually found a village pretty late into the top right run, which wasn't that useful, but it did save some time because I didn't have to kill as many animals for food. After I almost died in the bottom left run, I looked for a lava pool and went to the Nether. My pie chart told me there was a mob spawner and a chest nearby. I changed my render distance a few times and figured out where a fortress probably was. Soon enough, in both of the runs on the right, I was able to enter the Nether and use Pydar or E-Ray to find a fortress or a bastion. Because of the way I edited this, it probably seems like all the runs are on about the same pace, but that isn't even close to true. These are the real times, and here's a closer look at the fastest pace. So it isn't great that the portal came out at Y30, but 5 minutes is a long time. It would be seriously difficult to throw on pace like this. Anyway, I minded the surface and threw 2 eyes to estimate the coordinates of the stronghold. Then I went back to my portal. Right? Surely I didn't forget where it was. I ran around for a few minutes, I couldn't find it, and I gave up. And I know I could have just checked the recording, but at the time I thought I had already wasted too much time and it wouldn't be worth it. That being said, the top right run was not the one. From here on out, I'm going to ditch the current format and give each run a number instead of a position. The remainder of the run is pretty easy and there's nothing super interesting except for 2 major luck factors: the enchanted books in the stronghold and the proximity of end cities. So, starting with run number 3, here's how the last portion of the first hour of the real perfect start to a hardcore world went. Remember that list of items from earlier? This is what run 3 has. Not fantastic, but looting 3 is pretty nice. Next, the libraries. Sharp 3, Prot 3, Feather Falling 4 is a solid book, but mainly I need mending and unbreaking. There were a few more decent books in the second chest, but still no mending and no unbreaking. Unfortunately, the second library was only 1 layer, and there were no enchanted books in the chest. Now let's try the luck of run number 2. Firstly, I had these items on the list, so kind of just a worse version of what number 3 had. Oh, scratch that. Fortune 3 out of this ruined portal chest. That was pretty lucky. Maybe it's a good omen for what the libraries have. Or not. Quick charge is definitely not what I'm looking for. Oh yeah, Cursive Binding. That's exactly what I need in single player hardcore. The second library in this run was also 1 layer and also a bust. Now, run number 1. I had 2 whole items on the list and they were both basically the same item. If this is the run, I'm going to have a rough time the next several hours. To make up for it though, the first library was pretty good. I got Unbreaking 3. And then I didn't pick it up? What was I on? After the fact, I genuinely do not remember seeing an Unbreaking 3 book in that library. Anyway, there's still another library. There's no way. There's no way I just overlooked another Unbreaking 3 book. Like, I'm actually stunned right now because I do not remember seeing any, and there were 2. I'm actually so glad that chest was empty. If I actually missed 3 important books like that, I think I'd actually just have to cut it out. Like, I cannot embarrass myself like that by putting that on YouTube. So here we are. 3 runs remain in the end. In the end, 2 runs run, 1 run flies. In which run will I find an elytra? Run number 2 was the one. You may notice there isn't a lot of time left in this video, and I have a lot left to do. Well, this is already my longest video ever, so I'm going to make this part 1 of 5. Stay tuned for that, don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you later.